Hello everyone, welcome to Hyundai Glovis practical training on internal control over financial reporting. The training is divided into 5 sections. First is about an overview of what ICFR is, of its organizational structure and framework. Second is a guide for change management and design effectiveness test. Next is about operating effectiveness test. Fourth is about gathering and evaluation of deficiencies, how to test it and how to improve it. Last is a guide for KPI Evaluation Criteria. Let's start with section 1 about overview on ICFR. Each team has a number of business procedures based on roles and responsibilities. Internal control over financial reporting refers to evaluation and audit procedure to check whether no risk of error or fraud exists and whether control to mitigate the risk is properly designed and operating. With such procedure, reasonable assurance over financial information disclosed by the company is ensured. Thereby, listed companies are obligated to perform the test every year and must be externally audited. The background for introduction of ICFR is occurrence of large-scale accounting fraud cases, such as Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, Daewoo Engineering and Construction, which increased the social demand to strengthen the accounting transparency. Thereby, the Act on External Audit of Stock Companies was revised completely in 2018. In accordance with amendment of the Act, Hyundai Glovis, a listed company with total asset of more than 2 trillion won, has been externally audited from 2019 and has been expanded to consolidated level, including its major subsidiaries. If fraud is detected or qualified audit opinion is issued as a result of improper operation of ICFR, it can negatively affect the company's reputation. It may lead to several negative results, such as a decline in stock price, risk of litigation from shareholders, increase in financial costs, negative impact on business environment, and risk of supervision by FSS. Therefore, Glovis has to operate the control procedure of ICFR without any omission, and have to take active part in the test and audit. Brief introduction to operating schedule is as follows. Generally, change management to update any changes in operation procedure in ICFR documents is performed in April. Based on the updated documents, design effectiveness test is performed in May. Operating effectiveness test is performed in 3 rounds. Generally, the first is in July, second in October, and third in January the following year. The results of design and operating effectiveness tests performed throughout the year are reported to the audit committee every year. Detailed schedule and test procedure will be discussed later. Let's move on to overview and framework of ICFR. All departments of the company are responsible for operation of ICFR, and finance planning team of Hyundai Glovis is responsible for whole operation and management of ICFR. The results of design and operating effectiveness test and its deficiencies are reported to the CEO, and ICFR personnel should report the operating test results of ICFR to the shareholders meeting, board of directors, and audit committee every fiscal year. In the past, external auditors focus on the financial statements, but introduction of ICFR means they will now look into the entire process of preparing the financial statements. So, they will review and audit the entire process of the company. Therefore, not only the accounting team is responsible for ICFR, but all departments involved are responsible for it. Next is on key documents. Of many documents used in ICFR, the most important document is Risk Control Matrix, otherwise known as RCM. Control Matrix is a document which includes detailed control activity and test procedure to achieve the control objective. The test is performed based on this document. Flowchart is a document that visualizes the workflow of each business process and controls identified in the workflow by each cycle. It may be referred to understand the overall workflow and related control activities. Each year, the first step of ICFR operation begins with change management. Change management is the process of identifying changes in the workflow and updating ICFR documents. Changes include introduction of new business, system, change in workflow, and organizational structure. In case of change in the workflow, the level or characteristic of risk arising from the workflow may also change. Accordingly, procedures must be performed to re-identify possible risks according to the change and design control activities. The series of process to update the procedure in ICFR documents is called change management. Hyundai Glovis performs change management every April to May. Based on a survey, change in control activities compared to last year is inquired to each team, and changes are identified. Then, interview may be needed to identify the work, and ICFR documents are updated. Once a year, survey is conducted targeting all departments, but changes in various workflows such as introduction of new system, change in the organization structure may arise during the year. Therefore, changes that arise after survey conducted in April should be informed to Finance Planning Team, the ICFR department. Once change is completed, design effectiveness test is performed. Design effectiveness test refers to test procedures to identify whether ICFR is designed to prevent or detect significant error or fraud that may lead to material misstatement of the financial statements. To review the adequacy of the design, each control department should submit the population and one sample of evidence for the tests. Operating effectiveness test is a test procedure to check whether it is operating as designed in ICFR documents. It is performed in 3 rounds throughout the year as a sample inspection. To perform the sample inspection, population for the testing period is checked, and sample size is determined based on the number of population. The bigger the population size, the bigger the number of samples. For example, population for annual control is 1, so test for 1 sample is performed. For controls performed once a month, 2 samples are selected from population of 12 months. The key point in operating effectiveness test is checking the completeness of population. If the population is not secured completely, in other words, if the total case for population for the testing period cannot be checked, or partial population is submitted, the operating effectiveness of control cannot be ensured, no matter the number of evidence submitted. In such case, population or correction of evidence for the test and audit inspection may be requested several times. So, please submit the population and its completeness as stated in our RCM every testing period. Finance Planning Team checks the completeness of population submitted, selects samples, and requests evidence for the sample selected. Each control department submits proper evidence in accordance with test procedure, and Finance Planning Team checks its adequacy and documents it. Next is on finding and evaluating the deficiency. When identifying the deficiency, grade is determined based on its materiality. If material weakness or a significant deficiency is found, audit opinion may be modified depending on its significance. As change in audit opinion is disclosed in DART system, it may have a fatal impact on the entire company. Deficiency can be categorized into 2, design and operational deficiency. If no control exists to prevent a material misstatement in the financial statements, or if the risk cannot be sufficiently mitigated, even if it is operating as designed, it may be classified as design deficiency. Moreover, if the control is not operating as designed, it is classified as operational deficiency. When identifying the control deficiency, the level of deficiency is determined based on its significance, considering whether the identified deficiency directly affects the financial statements, possibility of misstatement, magnitude in case of misstatement, and whether compensating control exists. The deficiency is classified into control deficiency, significant deficiency, and material weakness. For the deficiency identified, the control department should establish a remediation plan, and it must be improved within the year. The remedied control should be revisited to conclude that the company's ICFR is effective. KPI evaluation criteria is set for identification of deficiencies and remediation. In case of deficiency identified during the test or audit, evaluation points are granted according to the importance of deficiencies. In case of deficiency identified during testing or audit, remediation deadline is not met, and when the deficiency is remedied. Please refer to table number 2 for details. Last is on KPI evaluation criteria. ICFR regulations stipulate the operation of KPI criteria related to ICFR as an essential part. GLOVIS also reflects the results of ICFR operation to each control department's KPI evaluation. Please refer to tables 1 and 2 for criteria to evaluate the executives' and employees' performance of the test results of ICFR. This is the end of how ICFR operates. Please feel free to contact Finance Planning Team for any inquiry. Thank you for paying attention.